All right, guys, we're going to go through the 1.1 to 1.3 review. So let's take a look at these. So first question, pretty straightforward, pretty simple equation. We're solving for x, so we're going to start by subtracting 9 on both sides. When we go ahead and we do that, 7 minus 9, just make sure you're not missing that basic arithmetic. You can even use your calculator. You're going to get x equal to negative 2. So our answer to number 1, x equals negative 2. Next question, again, another pretty basic equation here. We're just dealing with some decimals. So I want to get that z by itself. So I'm going to add that 3.8 to both sides. Add that 3.8 to both sides. 8.6 plus 3.8 is going to get me 12.4 as my solution. When it says justify each step down in here, guys, you just have to explain in words what you're doing. So why did I add 3.8 to both sides? I used the inverse operation of addition to get rid of subtraction. And then I went ahead and I added the 3.8. So just make sure if it says justify each step, some of you aren't completing what that means. That means just explain what you're doing step by step. Same thing here in number 3, okay? In order to get that r by itself, we have to now, because we're dealing with multiplication, inverse operation, we have to divide both sides. We're going to get an r value equal to negative 5. And again, in justifying your steps, just explain that you're using the inverse operation. Number 4 is one that gives people some trouble because we have 3/4 p equals 18. So obviously the operation that's being done here is multiplication. But when you have a fraction times a variable, in order to get rid of that fraction, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. So what does that mean? For those of you who don't remember, when we're talking about a reciprocal, that means we're flipping the fraction. So 3/4, the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. So we have to take our equation and we have to multiply by 4/3 on both sides in order to get rid of that. That will cancel there. And then we multiply by 4/3 here. We end up getting 72/3, which is just equal to 24 as our solution. So you have to know that concept of what a reciprocal is. If I have 1/2, the reciprocal would be 2/1. If I have negative 3/8, the reciprocal would be negative 8/3. Don't change the sign. Okay, so reciprocal just means flipped. Let's keep going. Number 5, one more step here. So keep in mind, we want to isolate that variable. We want to get that m by itself. All right. So in doing that, whoa, don't want that. There we go. So we want to get that m by itself over there. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides to start. That'll cancel. I'm going to have 2m is equal to 16. Divide by 2 on both sides. And you're going to get m is equal to 8 as your solution. Number 6, subtract 10, subtract 10. Negative 5 is equal to negative v. So remember, there's really like a 1 here. Divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1. And you're going to get 5 is equal to v as your solution. Let's keep rolling. Again, taking it up one more notch. All right. And number 7, notice this 7w and this 8w are on the same side. So here we can just combine the like terms. I know some of you are tempted to subtract the 7w from 8w. Don't do that. Just combine your like terms. 5 is equal to 15w plus 2. Let's isolate that variable. Subtract 2, subtract 2. 3 is equal to 15w. Divide by 15 and divide by 15. We're going to get a fraction here. Keep it as a fraction. 3/15 is equal to w. Or we can reduce this fraction because 3 goes into both of these. 1/5 is equal to w. Number 8, same idea. We just got some fractions we got to deal with here, or some decimals rather. So we can combine our like terms once again. Right here, negative 28a plus, or 21a rather, plus 28a is going to be 7a. So we have 7a minus 6 is equal to negative 10.2. Let's add 6 to both sides. So when we add 6 to both sides, we're going to get 7a is equal to negative 4.2. And then we're going to divide both sides by 7. When we do that, we can leave our answer here as a decimal. Negative 4.2 divided by 7 is going to get us negative 0.6 as a final answer. So if the problem is set up in decimals, that'll be the only time that we'll let you leave your answers as a decimal. Number 9, we've got some distribution to deal with. So I have to distribute this, and keep in mind you're distributing this entire negative 3. Some people only distribute the 3. We've got to distribute that whole negative 3 to both sides, or to both parts. So now we've got 2k minus 6k plus 9 is equal to 45. Same side here, let's combine them. Negative 4k plus 9 is equal to 45, and now let's solve. Subtract 9, subtract 9. I'm going to go up here. Negative 4k is equal to 36. Divide by negative 4, and you're going to get k is equal to negative 9 as your solution. Or distribution in here, this time we're distributing a fraction. That's fine, you've got a calculator, use it. Okay, if you're not comfortable dealing with fractions, we're not against you using the calculator. So 68 is equal to 1/5 times 20 is 4x. 1/5 times 50 is 10. And now I've got that plus 2 hanging outside. 68, I can combine right here, equals 4x plus 12. Subtract the 12. Subtract the 12. You're going to get 56 is equal to 4x. Divide by 4 on both sides. And you're going to get x is equal to 56 divided by 4 is 14. We've got variables on both sides. There's really a 1 right here with my c. So let's subtract that 1c. I like to collect my variables on my left-hand side. So 3c minus 1c is 2c. So now I've got 2c plus 1 is equal to 1. Subtract 1 from both sides now, and I've got 2c is equal to 0. That's okay. Don't think this is one of those special cases. You can have something equal to 0. Divide by 2 on both sides. 0 over 2 is allowed. 0 over 2 is just equal to 0, and 0 is my solution. Remember, 0 over 2 is equal to 0. That's good. 2 over 0 is undefined. That's no good. So 0 cannot be in the denominator. 0 can definitely be in the numerator. Number 12. Variables on both sides again. I'm going to collect them on the left-hand side. That's what I like to do. So I'm going to subtract that 3n. Subtract the 3n. I'm going to get negative 8 minus 8n is equal to 64. Let's add 8 to both sides. Negative 8n is equal to 72. Divide by negative 8. And that'll cancel, and you're left with n is equal to negative 9 as your answer. Powering through, solving equations. Number 13. Need to distribute. 2 times 8q is 16q. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, which is equal to 4q. Variables on both sides here. I'm actually, rare thing, because my variable's by itself on the left, I'm going to subtract the 16q here. This goes to show you it doesn't really matter which way you do it. Divide by negative 12 now. Cancels. Divide by negative 12 here. Now I've got negative 10 over negative 12, which is equal to q. But I need to simplify that. I don't want to leave it as a negative over a negative, and 10 and 12 can be simplified as well. So a negative divided by a negative is definitely going to be a positive. I could divide both of these by 2, and I get a simplified answer of 5/6, which is equal to q. Leave it as a fraction. We're dealing with fractions here. 14, a lot of distribution to do, and we've got variables on both sides. Let's distribute first. Gonna go up here. 9 times y is 9y. 9 times negative 4 is negative 36. Minus 7y is equal to 5 times 3y is 15y. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Same side combined. 9y minus 7y is 2y minus 36, which is equal to 15y minus 10. Let's solve now. Subtract the 15y. Subtract the 15y. Collecting variables on the left-hand side, I've got negative 13y minus 36 is equal to negative 10. Let's get y by itself. Add 36 to both sides. Cancels. Negative 13y is equal to positive 26. Going up here now. Negative 13y equals 26. Divide by negative 13. Divide by negative 13. Y is equal to negative 2. $15. Multiple choice question. Let's see what we got. Got to distribute. 4g plus 32 is equal to 7 plus 4g. Let's collect those variables on the same side. Subtract the 4g, subtract the 4g. Cancels and cancels, and now I'm left with 32 is equal to 7. That's not true. This is a false statement. Anytime your variables cancel on both sides, should be here, you end up with no solution. There is no value that can go into that equation that will make it true. No solution. 16. And this infinite goes down here. It should be infinitely many solutions. All right, let's see what we got here. Distribute, distribute. Negative 4 times negative 5h is a positive 20h. Negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16. Right side, 2 times 10h is 20h. 2 times 8 is 16. Well, look what we have here. Left side is the same as the right side. I could stop right here. I know I have what's called the identity. And I know that my solution is infinitely many. If you wanted to continue, and you subtracted that 20h to both sides, you're going to end up getting 16 is equal to 16, which is a true statement, showing that you've achieved the identity and have infinitely many solutions. Okay, to estimate how many miles you are from a thunderstorm, count the seconds between when you see lightning and when you hear thunder, and then divide by 5. Write and solve an equation to determine how many seconds S you would count for a thunderstorm that is 2 miles away. So again, to estimate how many miles, count the seconds between when you see lightning and when you hear thunder, and then divide by 5. So the equation is going to be two is equal to S over 5. Now, in order to solve this, we've got division. Multiply both sides by 5, and we would get 10 seconds, okay? So you would count 10 seconds between when you see the lightning and hear the thunder for a thunderstorm that is 2 miles away. You want to hang 3 equally sized travel posters on a wall so that the posters on the ends are each 3 feet from the end of the wall. You want the spacing between the posters to be equal. Write and solve an equation to determine how much space you should leave between the posters. So if we look here, okay, there's 3 feet from the end wall. Each of the posters are 2 feet. We want to see how much space we should leave here. So let's create an equation. All right. So how much do we have already? Let's take a look at that. We've got we've got 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3. And we're missing this space here. We're going to call this space x. We have an x and we have an x. So we have 2x. So our equation here that we want to solve could look something like this. 5 plus 2 plus 5 plus 2x is equal to 15. Let's combine here. We've got 12 plus 2x is equal to 15. Subtract 12, 2x is equal to 3, divide by 2, and you get 3 halves. This would be an example where we'd want to change that 3 halves into a decimal, and you should leave 1.5 feet of space in between the posters. And we can check our work by adding that. 5 plus 3 is 1.5, 5 plus 1.5 is 7.5, plus 2 is 9.5, plus another 1.5 would get you to 11, or get you to 5 plus 1.5 is 6.5, plus the 2 is 8.5, plus the 1.5 will get you to 10, plus the 5 at the end would get you to 15, and it works. Last question, number 19. Another word problem or application problem. So you want a piece of pottery at an art studio. The total cost is the cost of the piece plus an hourly studio fee. There are 2 studios to choose from. After how many hours of painting are the total costs the same at both studios? So studio A is $10 for the vase plus $8 per hour. Studio B, 16 plus 6. After how many hours are they the same? So we want to create 2 equations here. Our first equation that we're going to create for studio A would be 10 plus 8x. $10 is your base fee, $8 per hour. And then that's going to be equal to, for studio B, 16 plus 6x. Just an equation with variables on both sides. Let's solve it. Collect the variables on the left. I'm going to have 10 plus 2x is equal to 16. Divide by 10. You've got 2x is equal to 6. Divide by 2. And you've got x is equal to 3. So after 3 hours, they are the same. If you're asked to justify, make sure you're explaining your steps and what you did at each step and how you created those equations. Studio B increased the hourly studio fee by 2 hours. How does that change your answer in A? So in part B, okay, they're changing their equation from 16 plus 6x to 16 plus 8x. So our new equation here would be 16 plus 8x. And then you've got 10 plus 8x. So this is actually interesting what happens here because your x's end up canceling. All right? And then you get 10 equals to 16, which means that there's no solution. So what does that mean in the context of this problem? That means in this particular problem, Studio A and Studio B, the total cost will never be the same. Why? Because they're both $8 per hour. But the vase cost for Studio A is $10 and the vase cost for Studio B is $16, and they're never going to catch up. Studio A will never catch up to Studio B. It's always going to be cheaper because they have the same per hour rate, but Studio A has that cheaper rate per for the vase. All right? So those are your solutions to the quiz review. If you have any questions on those, feel free to ask. See you guys. Good luck.